Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we are going to be doing a full face of makeup using the worst named products in my collection. In my most recent video that I did, I mentioned doing a video on the worst named products in my collection, and so many of you guys really seemed to love the idea of that video, but one of you took it a step further and said you should do a full face of makeup using the worst named products in your collection. So that is what we're going to be doing today. I spent a good amount of time the other night going through all of my makeup, reading all the names of all my lip products, all my eyeshadow palettes and the individual names inside of them. Pretty much every category of makeup here, and we're going to put a full face of it on today. So quick warning to you guys, my very much G-rated channel is about to get a little bit PG when it comes to a couple of these names. So be warned, if you have a strong gag reflex or if you cringe very easily, you may want to skip this one. But fortunately, I don't own a lot of things from NARS or Too Faced, which I think are known to be the biggest offenders when it comes to this kind of thing. But I found some pretty good names in here, you guys. Most of them I think will give you a really good laugh. Some of them might make you a little bit uncomfortable if you are uncomfortable with saying some of the things that I'm going to be uncomfortable saying. I certainly hope I don't offend any of you guys by bringing up a few of these names. This is really just meant to be a good, lighthearted laugh, which I think is much needed in these times. But I clearly am stalling. Let's get into the video. Before we do, welcome to any of you that are new. I hope that you'll consider subscribing if you enjoy this video. And one final note, I do have an announcement to make at the end of this video of something really fun I have in the works for you guys coming up soon. So stick around to the end to hear that. And with that said, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright guys, so I do already have my foundation and my concealer on. I didn't have any unique or interesting names when it came to foundation or concealer. Most of them were called soft beige or light beige or creamy beige of some sort. Today I use the Wet n Wild Photo Focus foundation stick for my foundation, and for my concealer I use the Catrice Camouflage Pot Concealer in the shade 10. By the way, the Wet n Wild foundation is in the shade Soft Ivory. And then I set my T-zone down with a little bit of the e.l.f. Halo powder. So let's jump right in, and the first one is a doozy. I've talked about this bronzer before. I actually did not like this bronzer very much. I mentioned it in a Sally's Beauty Supply makeup video that I did probably around a year ago. This is from Ardell. This is their Vacay Mode bronzer. This is what it looks like. It comes with two shades, and one of the shades is called Sunny Brown, which is lovely. But the other shade name, the one I have a problem with, is in the color Sex Glow. I really feel like that one just is a little icky and kind of crosses a line for me personally. The first time I read that name, I thought to myself, that has to be a typo. Did they forget the Y? Because Sexy Glow would have been so much better and more appropriate of a name for a bronzer, which is one of the reasons I haven't used it. But to be perfectly honest, this is not necessarily a bronzer that I really love. I've used it a few times since, and it is just a little bit, it's a little bit dark for me, and it's also just a little bit on the patchy side. I found it to be a little bit difficult to blend, but we're gonna put it on today because that's what this video is all about. So hopefully you guys can see, I did not have much on my brush, and see how pigmented that is. I like my bronzers to be buildable, so I'm actually gonna take some of this on the back of my hand before I go into the other side. And not only is it just really pigmented, but it kind of just sticks in place. Like, it doesn't blend out. I do have some bronzers that are more pigmented, but as you work with them, they kind of shear out and blend out. This one is just, it's too much from the get-go, and I can't get it off. Like, it's not changing at all. So I'm not even going to comment much on the name. I mean, the bronzer alone, I just don't really love. So now moving into blush, and as I mentioned before, if I had a lot of blushes from NARS, I could definitely have some names in here that would make us all cringe a little bit, but I only own one blush from NARS, and it's the blush Madly, which is not one of their more inappropriately named blushes. But I do have one from Bare Minerals. This is from their Gen Nude line, and honestly this one doesn't bother me at all. I think it's more of a cute play on the word nude. It's called Let's Go Nude. I've talked about this blush before. It is one of my very favorite powder blushes. It is a great warm blush. If you like a more peachy bronze colored blush that really kind of melds in with the color of your bronzer, or even stands alone as a cheek color if you want to skip bronzer altogether, this is a great blush to do that with. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the Bare Minerals Let's Go Nude blush on top of that bronzer, and hopefully you guys will kind of see how well this pairs with really any bronzer. It just really warms up your cheeks nicely. And probably about 50% of the time that I use this blush, I'll just use it on its own because it's just such a good one and done kind of product. Hopefully you can kind of see that though. It's just really nice and kind of peachy and warm, which I love that. I think it's such a pretty look with a nice warm eye and a nude lip, which is what we're gonna probably end up doing today. But yeah, that one was pretty painless. Let's go nude from Bare Minerals. But now let's move into highlighter. Now I don't have anything very cringy when it comes to highlighter names, but one highlighter that for some reason I don't like the name of is this one right here. This is the Coty Airspun Loose Highlighter, and the shade name of this one is Snow Much Ice. I am one of those people that I appreciate a good play on words, but there's a limit for me to the cheesy factor, and Snow Much Ice, it's just a little bit too cheesy of a name for me. I do, however, really love this highlighter. It is very intense, and I mean very intense. You have to be so careful. I do store mine with the puff on top of it, otherwise it just gets very, very messy, as most loose highlighters do. But how I best like to apply it is I will just take what is in the sifter right here. I'll dip my brush into it and just really work it into my brush. Then I'll kind of tap off the excess, and then I will take the blank empty lid and swirl my brush in there just to kind of get the excess product off, and then I will apply that little bit of product on my face. And as you will probably see, even with all of those steps to kind of remove the excess, it shows up pretty intensely. Hopefully you can just see how intense that is. I have such a hard time showing highlighter. I feel like my lights are not in the right spot to really give you guys the effect, you know, the effect that you see in videos when people apply highlight. I feel like that's all about the placement of your lights. I'm not sure mine are placed perfectly, but as you can see, just that little bit on my brush, I mean, covered everything. There are some definite downsides to this highlighter. It is a loose highlighter. They are much more finicky to work with. It can be very, very intense, but if you can work with those things and you want something pretty blinding and intense. So there is Snow Much Ice on my face, and I have to say, it is snow pretty. Oh boy. I hope you liked a good dad joke, because there's more of that coming up. Now moving into eyebrows. So the eyebrow pencil that I chose was this one right here from Etude House. I got this from YesStyle when I did the K-Beauty video that I did back kind of right before Christmas time. And the name of this product is Drawing Eyebrow, not Drawing Eyebrows, it's Drawing Eyebrow Slim. So Etude House is a Korean beauty brand, and I know often with Korean beauty, if you ever read through a Korean beauty product, there's often kind of a language barrier there as far as the translation. A lot of time the grammar is not 100% correct because things don't just perfectly translate, if you know what I mean. That's kind of what the name of this product reminds me of. It just gives me a bit of a laugh and a smile that the name of this product is actually like instructional. It's kind of like if a mascara was named Brushing Your Eyelashes. I just think it's kind of funny. It gives me a little bit of a smile. I do, however, love this eyebrow product. If you can find this on YesStyle, which is where I found it, I think that you can get this product for around like $3 or $4, which is a really great price for a slim brow pencil. This one here is in the color 03 Light Brown, but I do really love the color of this one too. It's a nice like medium ashy brown. So if you have ashy blonde hair and you like an ashy brow pencil, this is a really good one. I'd say this one is like a half a shade darker than my Ulta Beauty Ash Taupe pencil that I really love. But it does have a really great formula too. Man, it's hard to talk and do eyebrows at the same time. Alright, so that's it for the Drawing Eyebrow Slim. Now let's move into eyeshadow. Before we do, I did already apply a little bit of eyeshadow primer. I just used the Profusion primer that I have. I will link that one down below. But for my eyeshadows, I went through my entire eyeshadow palette collection and opened up every single eyeshadow palette and was surprised to find that for the most part I couldn't find a lot of like cringeworthy or even cheesy or inappropriate names in most of the palettes that I opened until I came to these two. So first off, this one. This was sitting on top of my desk. I don't want to use this today because I did just use it in my most recent video, but I have to say, Colourpop, to be perfectly honest, I don't often pay attention to the names of shadows unless I'm using those names for reference in a video. So I'd never actually read the names on this specific palette, and actually on a lot of the palettes of theirs that I use often. Every other palette that I read through though, I was very impressed with Colourpop's naming until I saw this sitting on my desk and I read through the names of this one. There are some seriously PG-13 names on here. I was very surprised at Colourpop for this. And ironically, one of their shades here in the corner, which I used very recently, is called Keep It PG, which they did not do with this palette. I'm not going to go over all of the names, but I do want to just point one out. This is the one that I was raving about in my most recent video. And I will say this, I still love this palette. I'll still use this palette because I think it's great, and I just don't really pay much attention to the names. But the name of this transition shade that I so loved on in that video is, my throat is dry, wait for it, Nip Slip. Seriously, Colourpop? That surprised me, coming from Colourpop. And that's not the only one in this palette. After I read that one and then I read all the other shades, I was like, Colourpop, there are children using your makeup. Keep it classy. So I had to bring it up because this one should get the award for the worst name, but I don't want to use it again because I did just use it. And honestly, a couple of those names I truly do not want to say on camera. But I have some runners up, and I found these as I was digging through my smaller palette bin. You guys might remember these little guys right here. These are the Milani gold palettes that people raved and raved about back in, was it 2018, 2019? I myself have loved on these palettes for a very long time. I still absolutely love them. But as I was reading the names of these, I remember doing that video where I used these palettes, and I do remember cringing a little bit at some of the names in here. These ones, I just felt like the names were a little too cheesy for my liking. Milani went overboard when it came to their play on words in these palettes. There are so many plays on words in here. Let's just go through some of these and then we'll kind of decide which one we want to go for the look today. Starting with the Pure Passions palette, let's start with this shade right here. This is Always Pink of Me. The one right next to it is Totally Fawn of You. And then this one right here, Truth or Bear. That one is kind of cute. Most of these are kind of in that gray area where I think they're kind of cute, but together as a whole, when you hear so many plays on words, it can get a little gaggy, if you know what I mean. Jumping over to the Bold Obsessions palette. This color right here is Slate All Day. This pink in the corner right here, which is kind of more like a whitish pink, is the color Can't Pink Straight. This color right here is a good one, Suede Side to Side. And then this one right here, Red Between the Lines. So again, a little bit cheesy, but I think my biggest problem with a lot of these names is they are just so ridiculously long. I mean, they're almost a full sentence for one name, which I don't know how they crammed all the letters on the back there. So let's go into the Most Loved Mattes. This one has quite a few. Starting with this light purple right here, this is Busta Mauve. That totally reminds me of like the 80s. Isn't there a band called Busta Mauve or something? Then the brown next to it is the color Catch a Tan. That one's not too bad. This other transition shade down here is the color Toast of the Town. Then the one next to that is No Plum Intended. And probably the winner for the day is probably one of my favorite shades. This deep, warm, beautiful brown, which I think we'll probably be using today, is Don't Raisin Your Voice. Okay, that one, three things. It's very cheesy, is way too long, and the grammar is not correct. They should have said, stop raisin your voice. Are there any other grammar snobs out there that kind of get annoyed by that stuff? Kind of ironic that I'm a bit of a grammar snob because so often my grammar in videos is not great. But something happens when you turn the camera on and all those things you learned in college just go out the window. As for the Soft and Sultry palette, there was just one shade in here that I felt like was a little bit cringy, and it's this shade right here, which is a beautiful lid shade. It's kind of the taupey, silvery brown, and it is called Come Hither. And that is one of the names that really gets me in the gag reflex, you know? Come Hither. So that's just my thoughts on some of these names. They're just a little cheesy. Come Hither, Smokin' Hot, In the Buff, Tantation, Foxy Lady, Untamed, Naughty Night. Okay, that's a good one. Kind of the effect of all those cheesy names together just makes me want to gag a little bit, you know? Just a little bit. But that said, these palettes are pretty fantastic. So for today, I want to stick with just these two right here. This is the Most Loved Mattes and the Bold Obsessions. We're going to start off with the Most Loved Mattes and start out with the shade Catch a Tan, which is this one right here. How I wish I could catch a tan. It actually snowed 4 inches last night, which was not the most wonderful thing to wake up to this morning. I mean, we knew it was coming, but it's one of those things when they forecast snow, they always give you a range that's usually like 1 to 6 inches, and you're like, it could be almost nothing or it could be an awful lot. And it felt like an awful lot when we woke up this morning, considering that we're at the end of March. But fortunately, next week is supposed to be really nice, like mid-60s, which finally sounds like spring, and I'm so excited and ready. Because when you're quarantined to your house, adding on not being able to really go outside to that makes it just that much harder, especially when you can't send the kids outside. So I just took a little bit more, and I'm kind of just smudging that mostly on this outer corner, but it's also kind of getting the underside of my lower lash line right there as well. Now I'm going to take my Morphe M507 brush, and we're going to dip into this Don't Raisin Your Voice shade right here. And I'm just going to add that to this outer corner. And again, I'm kind of running that just on the upper and the lower lash line. Like I've done this in the last like 3 videos, which you guys are probably getting tired of this kind of smoky outer corner look, but that's okay. The purpose of this video today is not really to get creative with the makeup. It's about just having fun. Alright, so we're going to jump over to the Bold Obsessions palette. We're going to take the color Suede Side to Side, which is this color right here. I'm just going to take that with my finger. This is just a really nice, kind of satiny brown. It is a little bit on the flaky side, so this is one of those shades that you want to kind of build up rather than putting too much on at once. It's one that kind of does better if you build it up. It is such a pretty shade though. It's a little bit cooler than the brown in the last look that I did that was using the Double Entendre palette. And speaking of the Double Entendre palette, we are going to dip into that palette and jump into the shade Keep It PG. I do absolutely love the champagne shade right here. So we're going to pop that on the inner part of the lid. Alright, now let's jump back over to the Most Loved Mattes palette. And I want to take my Juvia's Place Small Buffer Brush and we're going to dip into the Toast of the Town shade right here. And I'm just going to run that under my lower lash line. Okay, and with that same brush, I'm going to dip back into that Don't Raise in Your Voice. I say that and I just feel like it needs to be fixed. It kind of drives me nuts. But we're just going to take that, I'm just going to add it right to this outer corner, kind of smudge and clean up this area right here. And then I like to just kind of feather that in a little bit just to kind of smudge it out. Alright, so that's it for the eyes. We are going to add a little bit of liner, and ironically, my worst named product is also my most used and most beloved eyeliner. It's this Wet n Wild brown pencil in the color Simma Brown Now, which again is one of those plays on words that just kind of makes me cringe just a little bit. It's just a little bit cheesy and a little bit long. I just like when people just name things brown. Simple 1 or 2 word names, you know? So just doing as I always do with this pencil, I just like to draw along the upper, outer lash line. And I did add a little bit just to the outer part of my upper waterline as well. Alright, so now moving into mascara. For mascara today, I am opening up this little baby. This is a mini that I got in a holiday set from Sephora. It's the NARS Climax Mascara. I'm not even going to talk about or comment on the name. We all know NARS and their names can be quite inappropriate. I'm going to leave it at that, so I'm going to add a couple of quotes of this and I will be right back and let you guys know what I think. Alright guys, so here are the finished eyes with the NARS Climax Mascara. I have to say, this is a pretty good mascara. It's beautiful on all of my lashes, but where I think this is amazing is on my lower lashes. This makes my lower lashes look perfect. They look just long enough without being overly long and spidery. I don't know if you can see. It just gives them just the right amount of definition. It's pretty nice. NARS. Wish you were a little more classy, but man, you make some good products. Let's go ahead and move on to the lips. Let's start off with lip liner. I told you guys this was coming. This is the Essence 8-Hour Lip Liner in the shade Because Duh. Sounds a bit like my 7th grade self came up with the name of this product, but I do love this lip liner, and I have been so surprised with how many of you guys have said that you've picked these up on my recommendation, really love them as well. I need to pick up a couple more shades myself. Now moving into the lipstick, and I've got to say I have quite the handful here. We'll get to the winner in just a sec, but I thought we'd go over a couple of the runners-up. Starting with this little guy from Maybelline. This is the color Stripped Down. That one I can deal with. I can also deal with this one. This is one of my favorites lately. I've been talking a lot about these Wet n Wild lipsticks. This one is in the color Close Off. Here's an odd one from Milani. This one is in the color I Am Smart, but there's just something about the name I Am Smart that I feel like I'm reading the front of a shirt that was made for my toddler. You know those shirts where they say like, I love colors, or I am smart, I am cute. I just think it's a little cheesy. I think smart would have been the better choice, but that's just me being very, very picky. But the winner has got to come from Bare Minerals. This is an older lipstick. I bought this during the holidays. I want to say about 2 years ago. I got these in a holiday set. I don't even know that they make this formula of lipstick anymore, but the entire set of these was themed around nude lipstick, which we all love our nude lipstick. And when it comes to a nude lip, most of the time I feel like we say the word nude in reference to the color nude. But Bare Minerals, they have one called Nudist, which I feel like is like almost over the line. But then they have this one right here. This is one of my favorite colors from the collection that I have used often on myself, and you can see there is just the tiniest bit left of this, but I always avoided using it on my channel for the sole purpose of avoiding saying this name. So this one is in the shade Sex Pot. Beautiful shade. Icky name. I don't even know what that is in reference to and what that means. I feel like there's a joke there that I'm missing. Maybe I'm just a little bit too naive and too conservative to get, and I'm totally okay with that. but I kind of feel like Bare Minerals crossed a bit of a line when it came to this shade. This just makes me feel all kinds of uncomfortable, and it's unfortunate because I feel like this is the one shade from that whole collection that I would have gone out and purchased a full size of if it was not for the name and the fact that I didn't, number one, want to say this name on my channel, or number two, have my kids pull this out of my purse and accidentally read it and wonder what in the heck is my mom putting on her face. Alright, so there is the lip color Sex Pot on my lips. It is beautiful, and especially with that liner, I think it looks really, really pretty. But again, Bare Minerals. Alright you guys, so here is the finished makeup look using all of the worst named products in my collection. I know this video could have gone a lot worse. I am sure some of you guys have products sitting around in your collection that probably have even worse names than this. I know that they are out there, but hopefully you found this one entertaining. It was a fun one to do, as uncomfortable as I was talking about a couple of these things. And I sincerely hope that me, or Bare Minerals, or NARS did not offend you today, but hopefully you guys got a kick out of it. I do want to make a quick announcement before we close out this video. In my most recent video, I also asked you guys to give me some suggestions on what videos you really wanted to see, especially with what we are experiencing right now. A lot of us are stuck home, self-quarantined, self-isolating, and feeling a little bit stir crazy and bored and running out of things to watch and to do. So more than ever, I want to film things that you guys want to see, and I had so many great suggestions in the comment section of that video. I actually sat down as I was going through my comments with a notebook, writing down all the suggestions, the people who suggested them. And after I was done and looked at that massive list, I thought, you know what, there are so many great ideas in here. I would love to do all of these. How can I possibly do that? And then this idea occurred to me. Do you guys remember in January I did a full month of nothing new? What if in April I did a full month of your video suggestions? So that is going to be my plan during the month of April. All of the videos that I post in April will be videos based off of your guys' suggestions. If you have any more suggestions, please feel free to leave them in this one as well. I still will not be able to get to every single suggestion during the month of April, but I'm hoping that I can get to quite a few of them. So many of them I was so inspired by and so excited to do. I cannot wait. I think it will be such a fun way to just have a little bit of fun, which I think is what we all need right now, and get you guys more involved in my videos. I will try to be better about using my community chat a little bit more. I know that I'm not the best at that, or at Instagram. I'm gonna try and be a little bit better over the next couple months because I know a lot of us are needing that right now. But again, let me know if you guys have any great ideas or even simple ideas. Any ideas at all, leave them in the comments down below. But I am excited about it. I hope that you guys are excited about it. But that is it for today's video. Thank you guys again for stopping by. I really hope that you enjoyed this one. I hope that you guys are healthy and well and surviving and coping okay right now. Know that I am thinking and praying for each one of you. For those of you that are new, one more reminder to hit that subscribe button before you leave. Also give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. It does help me out quite a bit. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you again. Have a good one, and I will see all of you in my next video. Bye. Ironic that I'm a grammar slob. That is true. I am smart. I am fun. I am... What's another? Obviously I'm not smart. Oh, Mandy. That's why you really don't like this lipstick. Because it's not true. What does that mean? Pot? It's one word. What am I missing? I'm like 40% curious and 60% is like, no, don't search for that one.